There's an interesting relationship out there, Professor, with the weekend warriors, as they like to, as we sometimes refer to them. Not me, because I am one of them probably, but the weekend warriors, and then we got the charter captains, and there's certain things that these non-charter captains will do that will drive the charters crazy. Certainly here in the Outer Banks, other parts of the world. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 things that you don't want to do. Listen, if you're going offshore, if you've never done it before, and you don't want to burn any bridges, do not do these 5 things. Number 1, pet peeve of the charter captains, Professor, is what?
This is probably the worst, is when you're following a boat out, having your light bar on when you're right behind them.
So this is significant, especially here in the Outer Banks, because the inlets are so crazy, whether it's Hatteras or whether it's Oregon Inlet, that you really should follow someone out.
Yeah.
They
don't mind.
Yeah. These OGs and these charter captains, they don't mind, so you should follow them. But the issue lies when you follow them and you turn that light on and you shine it right on them. That drives them crazy because it does what to you as the person that's trying to pilot the boat?
Well, most of them are on the bridge and they have curtains, and a lot of times in the morning they won't open the curtains and it'll have like dew, or maybe have a little salt spray on it or anything. It's not exactly, when you've got the light shining on the back side of the curtain and you have some dew on the front side, it just puts pretty much a wall up in front of you.
Not good.
Not good.
So you're blinded, by the person behind you, and that can make all the difference out here.
Yeah.
And so the recommendation would be what to that person that's taking that center console and following that sport fish? They need to do what?
Yeah, well, it all depends on what kind of light setup you have. If you have a light bar and that's the only thing that you have, it's fine to cut it on really quick, to hop behind a boat. But as soon as you get right behind the boat and you're pretty confident, I wouldn't even get in line with it still on. You know what I mean? But you don't need it, because most of them run a cockpit light. They'll have a light. You'll be able to see them fine, and you can stay a reasonable distance back. One hand on the steering wheel, one hand on the throttle, the whole time you're behind them going out of the inlet and the channel. Just so you can be ready and prepared in case they have to slow down quick, and have your radio on channel 80. 9 times out of 10, the boat will come on there and be like, hey, I've got to slow down, or I've got something to wheel, I've got to stop, or anything. So yeah, just try not to cut that light on when you're behind them.
All right, that's number 1. Don't blind the boat in front of you. All right, Professor, pet peeve number 2 is?
Well, there's a bunch of them, but I would say like getting too close while they have a fish on. Because you see a charter boat hook up and stop, your initial reaction is, they just went over a school of fish.
Yeah.
I want to go over that school of fish too.
Yeah, I want to cross over that line that they just went over, okay? Yeah. And so the problem with that someone with less experience might not understand is what can go wrong if they're too close to the rear.
Well, they can cut their fish off. You know what I mean? And that could be the only fish that boat catches all day. They've got paying customers on it, and they're trying to make a living. And you have somebody, when they finally get a bite, it could have been hours they've been waiting to get this bite. You just come all of a sudden, and you not knowing, unwillingly cut one of their fish off.
Someone with less experience, they might not realize how far that shotgun is running. It's possible that somebody's running bait how far off.
It's not unheard of to have a 600-footer back there.
Right. So if you're 600 feet, this person isn't, if they've been using this, center console and they're not running 600 foot off of that, it's a different game, right? So they might not have those distance parameters set up. And so you want to be really, really careful about that. So general rule of thumb, you would say is, how far should you stay from the stern of one of these charter captains so as to not piss them off?
Well, I would say probably like 1,000 feet. You
Okay.
know what I mean? Behind them. It varies a lot, and some guys run their stuff short depending on what they're fishing for and the conditions and how the fish are biting and stuff like that. But that's one thing, we kind of communicate amongst ourselves is, somebody will get a bite and I want to come in behind them. I'll ask them, how far back is your stuff? Do you have any, way back there, or got any 600 footers? And most time, they come back, no, I'm, close to the boat, straight up and down and stuff like that. But as, being a newcomer or somebody that's not experienced, you might not feel comfortable asking the boat that, or you might not know what channel they're monitoring and stuff like that. So just best off to give them some room. It's fine, when you pass side by side to be closer to that, but behind them, we'll give them some distance.
Well, to this point too, one other component to the distance is if they've got, like, let's say a blue marlin on there,
Yeah.
that really changes the dynamic because we don't know how far it's run.
That's right. If you see the boat going in reverse, you get far away from the boat. Turn away.
Just don't even go in the line.
That's right.
If that boat's in reverse, because pretty generally speaking, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's in reverse, it means it's probably got a marlin on.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you mess up someone's marlin,
Oh yeah.
you are blacklisted
That's right.
for life.
Yeah, for life. Yeah. You're gonna hear about it.
Okay, you will hear about it too. Sometimes there's interesting discussions on there.
It
Okay,
is.
all right. So that was number 2. Be careful about how close you are. Stay away, 1,000 feet. Good rule of thumb. All right, so pet peeve number 3, Professor.
I would say this one's pretty important. A lot of times we're fishing grass lines out there, and if you see a charter boat working a grass line, don't hop in front of them. You know what I mean? It's just common courtesy to either get in behind them and fish some ground that they've already hit. They could have been working their grass line for 3 miles. You know what I mean? And another half a mile, there's that one piece of float in that grass line that's holding the fish. They've been working for that. So just don't hop in front of them.
This is really interesting. So you see someone in the distance, there's a charter boat, you see, oh, they're on a weed line, right? Okay, and that weed line goes a long way. So what you're saying is they've been earning the catch of what is going to come on that weed line as to what's in front of them. And so if you jumped in front of them, that's inappropriate. You want to jump behind them,
Yeah.
because that way you're not stealing their spoils. That's 100 yards further than what they are, because that would probably make somebody really upset if they've been working that weed line for an hour or something like that. You come in 5 minutes, they would have been up to you, but you've already taken all the fish that were there.
That's
That is definitely possible. That could happen.
And then if they get on some fish and find some fish and stop on the weed line and you're behind them, just casually go around and then get back on the weed line. You know what I mean? That's acceptable.
And don't jump on their spot
Don't jump on their spot
unless they're leaving.
Unless they're leaving, and
Don't jump
you're
on their
invited.
spot.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one thing that I thought is interesting observing you. There's been times where, you're pretty much finishing up with a spot, and you'll call a captain and say, hey, I've got, we've hit our limit over here. Come on over, take these fish. And sometimes you'll even invite them while you're still trying to get yours, which I think is pretty cool. And, some days, especially in the dog days of summer, that weed line is the difference between having a wonderful day on the water versus a blank.
Yeah. It's a day saver. So we call it a day saver.
A day saver. Is that the phrase?
Yeah.
All right. I like that phrase. Yeah. Okay. Great recommendation. So watch for them weed lines. Don't get too overly excited, and don't jump ahead. All right. Pet peeve number 4, Professor.
Well, here on the Outer Banks, when we're fishing out of Morgan Inlet, everybody monitors Channel 80. All the charter boat captains, and then you also have the non-professional captains that also stay on Channel 80. And there's information on there, you know what I mean? But normal traffic, it's fine to hail another boat on Channel 80, but then once you hail them, they respond. You ask them to go to a different channel. So you need to try to keep your chatter on Channel 80 to a minimum.
Right. Which is why you hear, if somebody wants to have a general conversation and ask them, how their family is or something like that, they're like, hey, Ron, drop down one or something like that. And that means let's have a conversation not on the main channel. Because if somebody is yapping especially that's not an OG, if somebody's yapping on that channel 80, what's going to happen?
Yeah, they're gonna. Somebody's gonna take their mic and tap it and make all kinds of noise, and you're gonna shortly know that it's not cool. And these guys have been using that channel for years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And some of these charter boat captains that are older, if they want to talk about football or anything under the sun, they'll do it on that channel. But most of the time when they are, it's slower. There's not great fishing going on.
Yeah, it's like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in
yeah,
the same breath,
yeah.
they have earned that right to talk on that channel and do whatever they want to do on that channel. It's their channel. You know, we're just, yes, they are allowing us to listen. And they're allowing us to get the information that they want to give us. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of other information that gets swapped on private channels, private radios and stuff like that. But if one of those captains say something on channel 80, it is meant for everybody to be heard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
This is pretty cool.
yeah.
All right, that's a good one there. Respect your VHF.
Yeah.
Good one. And finally, Professor, number 5, bring us home. Do not do this.
Be a shadow.
Shadow.
Yeah.
What's a shadow on the water?
I mean, it's just like every turn you make, a boat's right there on your hip making a turn too. You know, there's really no harm in it, but it just makes you feel uncomfortable, you know, all day long. It's kind of disrespectful. It's fine to shadow in the distance. Keep an eye on the boat that you know, envy, or you know that's catching a lot of fish or stays on the fish, but just don't make every turn that they make.
And I think this could actually be growing in significance because now folks know that boat there has Omni.
Yeah.
And if that boat's got Omni, there's a better chance that they know where the fish are. So I want to go follow the Omni boats.
And I find myself doing that. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of times where I'm looking around and I see an Omni boat stopped and I'm like, okay. Or I'll see an Omni boat making a bunch of loops, you know, trying to get on his mark that he's marked way off in front of the boat. And I'm like, yep, I kind of need to be over there. But I'm not making every turn they make.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. And I know for a fact, if there's one thing you don't do is you just don't shadow. It's just not how you roll.
No.
And sometimes you do things and I'm like, man, he's like going so far against the grain, but yet it pays off almost every time. So that's the instincts of a great captain. So hopefully that helps you to understand what not to do, whether you're just getting started or whether you have experience but you haven't experienced fishing here in the Outer Banks. You know, it's all about relationships, and you've built tremendous relationships, and you know there is Southern hospitality here, but you can push people the wrong way. And so by following what we talked about, you're going to build better relationships. And you're going to get the most from your experience on the water. Any closing thoughts, Professor?
Just the main thing is respect. That's the number one word on the water, respect.
Yeah, I agree with that. Respect the OGs, respect the water, and in their ability to catch fish and help them out as much as possible. Hopefully this helps you. If you've got any questions, put it in the comment section. Make sure you spread the word about Speechless. Come fishing with this guy, slip number 92 at Pirates Cove Marina in Manio, North Carolina. Until the next time, everyone, stay salty.